We on!
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy DJ Noble, relaunching off the grid, and I got a couple guys with me to do that. My man Justin, how you doing, man?
What's what's
My guy
good,
Mo
bro? How
over
you?
here. Hey, man, I'm lovely. I'm lovely, living it up here in the
Formerly
Midwest,
known as Pagoda.
and I got my man
Oh
Mo with
yeah,
me too.
Pagoda, I should say.
How's it going?
Formerly known as P
Great,
Dot.
man, doing great,
Right.
man. Thanks for coming on, guys. Definitely appreciate it.
What
Appreciate the
any
invite.
other names?
Any other
Oh yeah,
names
no
that you
doubt,
had?
no doubt, man. It's a hot topic too.
That's it. Just
What a way
C-Dot,
to
P-Dot,
relaunch
Pagoda.
things.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about Mike Vick
All
today
right, bet,
and the
bet,
hiring
bet.
of Mike Vick.
So,
Speaking of
man,
which,
I'm really excited about this.
how
man.
do you guys
Again,
like
it's
the
been
title,
4 years, man, since I've
Coach
been
Mike
on the
Vick?
air,
What do you
so,
think about that?
Man, this is monumental for me.
For me,
I
I think it's fitting.
I was talking to my man.
The last couple of years, he's been really
the other
involved
day.
in
He's like, man,
rehabilitation
it's been
of his
4 years. It
life,
seemed like
which
it was just
needs to
yesterday.
take place in general.
It seemed like I just
But
rolled back
just
in, Ryan back
where
in,
he's
so
headed, where he's
here I
going,
am. You know
what
I
he's
mean?
been involved in, I
So
think it's
what we're
fitting,
gonna do
and
today,
I
man,
like
I
to
just
see
want to let the
just
audience
from
know
an
a little
African
bit
American
about the show,
standpoint.
a little bit
Seeing
about you
people that
guys
had the
and what you
impact on the
guys are
sport,
doing
kind of
and
going
bridging
back
the
to
game.
HBCUs
The
and what that looks
nominations
like,
one
right?
is one.
Seeing Deion
So
Sanders and
let's
seeing
go ahead
people like
and
that
get this thing
slow,
rolling,
like
man.
take this role
I
into
want to
that.
let
So I'm
you
happy
guys
about
know
it. I'm glad
about
to see
pretty
it.
much how this all
Hopefully that
started,
means
man.
that
As
Norfolk
far
State gonna win
as
some games.
our
Maybe we see
relationship,
something
how
else.
we got to know each
I
other.
have
Oh,
no
Me, I started my
connection,
show,
so.
my original show, Urban 11 in
Yeah,
2003.
same thing. I
Back
think it
in
was something
Hampton
that was
Roads in Virginia
going
Beach.
to happen.
At,
Yeah.
at the station
Sooner
formerly
rather
known
than
as
later.
what, Corey?
WJLZ.
WJLZ
There it is, right?
the guy
The
Shout out
who
to
lighthouse. The
gave
lighthouse,
us a
right?
second chance after his
And
situation. Andy
what was
Reid,
dope, man,
and,
about
he
that
spent some
time
time
frame is
learning under Andy Reid.
I got to
So
know
I
people pretty
think
quick.
he wanted to
Once
do
people
it,
found out how to
but I
show,
think
and I was going out
it was
looking
going
for
to take the
people,
right
talking to
situation
people,
with
connecting with
Norfolk
artists,
State
connecting
back
with
home.
personalities,
Brings
and et
that
cetera, et
right
cetera.
situation to right.
I got to know this dude quote
absolutely,
at an
absolutely.
event
Yeah, I'm
in
definitely
downtown
excited. I mean,
Hampton,
think about just
and
for
Hampton,
people that don't
Virginia.
know, man, just
And
I have an
there's a
interesting
couple artists that
connection,
were there, a couple
right?
local
So
artists.
I spent a lot of time,
Yeah.
20
I think
years,
Nigga North Soldier
two
was there.
decades
Yeah, I
in
remember
Hampton
them.
Roads,
Yeah.
and I'm also from
Yeah.
Leavenworth, Kansas.
Yeah, I think they were there.
So,
There was another group
and now I'm
called
back
Word
home in
Life.
Kansas City, basically.
Word
So,
Life.
yeah, I'm kind of
Mike Vick?
full story. I'm Mike Vick,
King,
White
yeah,
Mike Vick,
GI.
right?
And there were some other people there.
Something
I
like
remember
that, man.
Crazy
So
David
it's
was there.
it's
Y'all
so
remember
like
Crazy
Mike
David?
Vick has always been an
wow.
intriguing
Got my
person to
first
me, and I'm really
T-shirts from
excited that he's
Crazy
getting this
David. It was
opportunity at Norfolk
one of my
State. It's
first
better than
sponsors.
Sacramento State,
Um,
right? Because I think that
so
was the
yeah,
other job that
that
was
was a
up for
crazy
grabs for
time,
him
man.
too.
But
So
Wow.
either Sac
one of the
State,
things I
Norfolk
remember the
State. I'm
most
glad he's
that
back home in VA.
um,
So for those that don't know,
when
Norfolk
we met
is right
Quote,
across the
I
water
was like,
from
man, this dude
Hampton,
is at another radio
or
station.
Newport News, where he's from.
But
So
it was never
it's
about
great to see that he's
competition
back
between the
home.
two of us.
But
Not at
before I get
all.
into like
You know,
we really get into that part too deep, I really want to talk about um, kind of the naysayers, right? People that are upset with him being hired. And a lot of this has to do, in my opinion, with a lack of understanding. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's that and a little bit of people just having the opportunity to say something, so they're saying it even if they don't believe it.
Mm, that's true. So a lot of it has to do with the fact that he fought dogs or was a part of this dog fighting ring, right? So I kind of want to touch on that real quick when it comes to dog fighting and the prevalence of dog fighting. What are some of the observations that you guys have about the culture of dog fighting? Is it just something that is an inner city thing? Is it a rural thing? What give me some insight. Is it just an East Coast thing, a Mid Atlantic thing, Midwest, South thing? Can you guys give me some insight on that?
It's interesting because being I'm from Poplar Bluff, Missouri, from southeast Missouri, rural area. I always try to explain it as the group Nappy Roots, like from Kentucky, like very very rural like that. Shade tree mechanic, everything else, right? That was where I was raised. It's predominantly, you have all white communities, but you have all black rural communities. That's where I was from. There's all black rural communities. And you're familiar with the Delta area here, the
Oh,
Delta
yeah.
down in Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee area, down in Memphis. That's where it's from. And so dogfighting back when I was growing up was very prevalent. It was it's something that occurred, something that happened. People know that happened. There's anyone that says it didn't happen obviously wasn't around. There's in my hometown they outlaw pit bulls, and that was part behind it. And you see a lot of those laws during that time. They started outlawing like just to own pit bulls. You can't own pit bulls because
Wow.
was the purpose of owning pit bulls, right? You own the pit bull, they fought pit bulls. That's one of the things, and people grew really big pits during that time. I mean, it was a thing to have bigger pit is. And it was in our culture from the standpoint of music as well. If you watch any DMX video back in the day, you know, all that dog
Oh
barking.
yeah.
That was the culture. That was the thing that was occurring, right? Now, do I say it was a great thing? No, I don't. Obviously, just in general, animal cruelty or anything else. However, I just the whole Michael Vick thing in general, knowing that culture, I have never heard anybody go to prison for it. I just still remember this occurring. I'm like,
Right.
yeah, that seems really. Now, was anyone to his scale? You know what I mean? Had the scale. Like, I know some guys that had a pit, they fought them, right? I didn't know no one that had the whole, like, 30 or 40 pits and, had a whole string of, So that's the only thing. I just never heard that scenario occur where someone spent prison time knowing that other things has occurred in our country
Right.
that people still don't go to prison for, if that makes sense.
Right.
That I'm like, man, you don't go to prison for that? They give him probation. So to hear him
Right.
serve time, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
was big for me, if that makes sense. And knowing where I'm from and knowing that it was Curry, especially during the time period which he was found, when the charges first, where he was found guilty, I guess. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's that's definitely one of those things, right? It's country, it's rural and it's urban. It's it's major and it's minor, right? And when I say major, there are people who create and run bloodlines of winners, and then there are people who get a one-off and it's like, hey, this might be a chance for me to go and make some money, and so I'm gonna try to teach my dog how to fight, right? Um, but as far as the culture, I think it was prevalent in the culture from a standpoint of, I mean, it's not just an American thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's prevalent in a lot of cultures, or just animal fighting, period.
Yeah.
It's prevalent in a lot of cultures.
Right.
You talk people fighting chickens with cockfights, like you said, dog fights. There are some places that have cats that fight, right? It that might not be as prevalent, but dog fighting is something that's been around for centuries.
Right.
Um, but I think with him, it was an opportunity um, for it to have a face, for the cruelty of it to have a face, and I think it was, just that's just what happened, and so he became the face of animal cruelty as a whole, even beyond dog fighting, I
Why do you think he hasn't been able to shake that stigma?
believe. Because we as people, especially in this, I'll just say, in our most recent time frames, we treat our animals like family members. Um, and
Mm.
so it's hard for some people to see that you did this to my family member, and so I can't forgive you. It's like some people see it, and if you look at the comments, some people see it as something far worse than murder, right? And
Right.
so if people won't forgive a murderer, why would they, in their conscience, not saying that's me, but why would them in their conscience forgive someone for something that they see is worse than murder? So it's hard to shake if they're not going to have that thought process to forgive.
I, I think that's a good question. In general, that's probably why you asked it, right? Um, one of the things I think we forgive people all the time. I mean, just like sit here and think about what's the two guys that the Netflix show came out, and if I can say Netflix show came out, and
The Menendez brothers.
Mendez brothers.
Yeah.
We had a whole community is like, oh, we're good. They're abused. I mean, and we really don't even know. The prosecutor's still looking into it. There's a lot of stuff happening there, right?
Right.
And I feel like our community has already, like, I don't say our community, but in general, the public has already like forgiven them for wherever it happened, right? And so there's scenarios after scenario I can name that has occurred that people like in media, movies, scenarios has occurred and people kind of like forgive and they're celebrate them 24/7, right? And I can name a lot of them here. I'm not gonna name them here, but we can all list stuff. I'm not sure why this one, especially after time has been served.
Right.
And I'm really big on time served. You should have the right to vote and everything else, right? You served your time, you did your work, you should be able to come back and be, a citizen in the United States and get to be able to have the full rights that are, given to you by, the Declaration of Independence, right? You're right. The
Absolutely.
You have rights. And, the inalienable rights are through all of us. So I think they're still there. I'm not sure why this scenario is different from the standpoint of people for everything he has done and for the time he has spent, the career that has basically was all but over when he returned, right?
Right.
Well, why haven't we, moved on? Why can't some people move on and be happy for him from the standpoint of, hey, this guy's doing something good?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing too is
I'm gonna be that.
Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I'm gonna be that guy. Just because you brought in the Menendez brothers, right? So you have a group like the Central Park Five, who, after their special, people still are like they're animals. They still may have done it.
Mhm.
What's the only difference? Let's face it, right? Let's face it.
Right.
Skin color plays a huge role,
It does.
and so when you already see, if you already have in your mind that this person is quote unquote a monster, and then they do something monstrous in your eyes, they'll
Mhm.
never shake you.
Never. And it
I mean,
I definitely agree. And what gets me is this, and I don't think enough people take this to consideration, is the fact after this verdict, after Vic has spent time, or even while he was still incarcerated, there were several laws that were passed,
Yeah.
right? Several laws. Because as you guys said earlier, I think it was Mo said, nobody went to jail for this type of stuff.
Yeah.
But now, since Mike Vick has been, that cover person for dog fighting or any animal fighting period, as you guys stated, there have been laws that are passed. Like one of them is a big law. I'm trying to look it up right here. It is the Animal Fighting Spectator Prohibition Act of 2014. And what that is, because if you remember, if you look in the documentaries, if you guys seen any of these documentaries, if you go to Bleacher Report had a great documentary on this, NFL Films had a great documentary on this. And basically, one of the things that Mike Vick had to deal with as a child is trauma, right? The first time he witnessed a dog fight, he was 7 years old, right? The first time he saw somebody died or was shot. I think he said this person was a taxi cab driver, and this taxi cab driver was shot, right? And somebody said, "Don't look," and he said, "Man, I had to look." Right, so if you can imagine that type of trauma that he had to deal with and endure all of these years, and all the things that people have, basically because it's a part of the culture. He's gone in, he's witnessed all these types of things, but then you have an act like this, and it demonstrates what the act says is that you can serve up to a year in jail, in prison, if you are strictly a spectator of dog fighting or animal fighting. And if you bring a minor with you, then that's 3 years, up to 3 years in jail for bringing a minor to a dog fighting spectacle, right? So I don't even know if spectacle is that the right term. I don't know. Observation, right? So to me, that says a lot. If people criticize Vic for anything, they really need to think about that, because he got caught. All these things happen. All these laws happen so that people could actually pay for their crimes, right? And you'll see many different articles, many different places. If you go into the internet, I think there was like a big ring that was found in Missouri somewhere, like 900 people were arrested or something like that. I can't remember. It's called like the Missouri 500 or 900 or something like that. So there were a lot of things that occurred, and I guess that's really my point. There are a lot of things that occurred, a lot of incidents that occurred, a lot of cases that were found after this situation. So even though he was kind of the one that was caught, that pretty much dropped the domino on a lot of other things. And I think people should be a little bit more thankful for that. The fact that, even though he was the guy, it pretty much opened the door to a lot of other things that occurred after his conviction and his incarceration. But what I really liked was, as you guys mentioned, the redemption. Let's talk about the redemption story after he was released from prison. I think that's really the most important part of the story, as far, and it actually led up to his hiring at Norfolk State. So let's get into that. What were you guys' thoughts after he was released from prison?
For me, I already told you kind of where I'm at in general in life when people serve their time. That's where I was. This guy served his time. If you recall too, I want to say the state of Virginia still had their state case against him, so he still had 5 years to serve. And even though the 5 years was, I believe, all under probation, I believe it was SIS. They suspended the actual imposition of the sentence, but he still served. Like, he still got convicted, I believe, in the state of Virginia. So, it kind of follows him around. I imagine it still follows him around now, just because some of the archaic laws we have against. He's a felon, right? There's a lot of stuff he probably can't do in life that people, there's a lot of boxes you're checking out there. There's a lot of boxes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he went to Norfolk State and they like, oh, we might have to remove the box for Vic, because the reality, the box is probably still there. Right. And so it's something that our society haven't got their mind around, and just their head around it, that people can make a mistake. We all can be. I'm pretty sure all three of us sitting here on this call right now had a point in time we made a mistake that we were that close to go jail, go prison, right? Mm-hmm. And so we've been there, and we were, thank God, use enough I don't want to call it common sense, that maybe somebody told us, or we finally, hey, I can't be doing this. Something told us, that little small person, that little guilt in the back. He didn't have that. Like you said, that got trimmed down, that got filed down his entire childhood, adolescent life, because you repeatedly see something, you think it's fine. Right. And so for him, he didn't have that opportunity, but now he has this opportunity, and hopefully, even though he has that stigma, hopefully he'll be able to, continue forward, But unfortunately, yeah, it's a redemption story, but a redemption story that has an asterisk by it.
Yeah, it's a pretty messy one, right? Still redemption.
Yeah, still redemption. I just think it could be better.
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely on like Mo, like person served their time. They've done everything that they've been asked to do. I think it's incumbent upon us to, even if you don't want to forget, you have to either forgive or disassociate yourself with anything that involves that person. Like don't bring yourself around it. Because ju the court system has already had their time. He served it,
Hmm.
he fulfilled it without any without any violations that would have put any more time on him. Ever since then, he's been a model citizen. Um, I believe he had some, like, as a part of his probation, maybe he had to do some animal rights, like community service things.
Right.
And I don't and don't quote me on this, but I believe even if he has children, I think even before he was allowed to have any pets for his children, he had to get approval.
Mm.
Um,
Right.
so I think, and if you look it up, I believe that went through. So if the court, he's done everything in the eyes of the court that he was supposed to do. Um, I think it's incumbent upon us as a society to give that man his his just due and say, we understand what you did was wrong. You've admitted that it was wrong, and now we're going to allow you some grace, which we all look for, right? When we've done something that, in the eyes of other people, is not conducive to what we think society should accept. We ask for grace that once we whatever restitution has to be paid, that we can bounce from it and still have access to, like Mo said earlier, to those unalienable rights, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Um, so yeah, that's where I am, and I think his like you said, his redemption story is still coming full circle, and I think a lot of it has to do with him being out of the limelight for so long since his football career ended. Um, and now this makes a big splash in the community and area where all of this kicked off. So I think that plays a lot into a part of the redemption story, right? Him coming back and this community and creating a space where he's accepted by this community who has, in the most part, a lot of people have rejected him in and refused to see him as anything else.
Absolutely. I think another big argument to me is the fact that he's also been approved by his peers, right? Right. So a lot of times,
Yeah,
people say, well, how do we know he's fully rehabilitated, right? So a lot of times you got to think about that in regards to a lot of people that don't rehabilitate normally don't have this, the peer support or the family support around them. Whereas in this case, Michael Vick obviously had tremendous family support, had tremendous community support. People wrapped their arms around him like Donovan McNabb, right? Can you imagine being Donovan McNabb, right? You're the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, right? And, all of a sudden Mike Vick gets released, and Mike Vick is actually one of the first people he calls is Donovan McNabb. He said, I need your help. And McNabb said, I think I can help you out. To me, that really is a brother, right?
Yeah.
that really shows that you have the community support, number one. And then Andy Reid saying, you know what, I think you're right. I think he's a good guy, and I think, and if you look at some of the other documentaries, what would it be, NFL films or Bleacher Report, you'll see even the coaches were surprised about the whole dogfighting thing, right? Because of his character. Like, it doesn't seem like he would, get into that type of trouble, right? So I don't think his character in that sense has ever really been questioned, right? So when he gets released and he does what he, as you guys said, he does what he has to do when he gets back into the community embraces him. Obviously, not everybody in the community. The people that don't embrace him are the people that don't know him, right? That have no relation with him. But the people that actually knew him, embraced him. As you can witness, when he left Fox Sports, everybody embraced and was excited for him. He has the backing of Andy Reid. And then if you take a real good look at it, if you remember when all this came to light from the beginning, I think Arthur Blank, the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, publicly pretty much said, "Look, man, we're through with this guy. We don't like what he did. Is an embarrassment." And I'm just paraphrasing here. And the next thing you know, like just a couple of days ago, who did they get the gold standard seal of approval from? The Atlanta Falcons. So that tells me you can go full circle, right? So if you have the right people around you, you got that community support, you have that peer support. That shows a lot about your character. So I think that
Yeah.
that was that was
And I
that was the
think
one that
that's
set it off for me too.
I think that's going to be very important for him too in that role, right? In his coach role. Um, that he's able to show the young men that he's going to coach, hey, um, look at who has my back. These are the people who have my back, and I just need you to trust me and trust the process, and eventually we gonna be all right.
And I think winning changes everything too. You start winning,
Yeah,
people forget real quick. And you know, in general for Norfolk State, that could be mean he might be in Virginia Tech in 2 years. I mean,
but
is
we
the
look at
reality?
Deion Sanders, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
it's the reality. Like people forget
yeah,
stuff when there's a team this year, that really good football team for the NFL. Uh, they went back and got a running back that they cut because of a situation. And
yeah,
then all of a sudden he's back. We're like, yay, we're winning. I'm like, was it the same person that you got rid of because of the whole, it's amazing that
and
memories are short. Uh,
right,
they're not short when you don't have a lot of winning going on or something that people can pay attention to. So people tend to fester because that's the top thing that people remember you for. But once that kind of circumvent that, or you do something above that, it tends to go away, and people don't remember it for some reason, right? And I think professional sports is probably the most obvious of that, right? We
hmm
all can think of some people in the NBA or NFL, something occurs, and we're like, man. Then all of a sudden the person's back, and you're like, did that person? And Nike's back, Adidas is back with them now. I'm like,
right,
you guys just
right.
dropped them, and everything's okay. And so, and it goes back to, is it rehabilitation in that sense? I don't think that sense is not. I think it's money. But in Michael Vick, we're seeing the real process work, right? The process
Right.
we rave about. Oh, the justice system works, right? I think the judge was pretty hard nosed guy, that federal judge that sentenced him, and during that whole time, actually made some good comments about it. And he said the system worked. And so, and I think he's, pretty hardcore, like, uh, believes in the criminal justice system, believes in sending people to prison. And for him to say, Michael Vick is doing good and this worked, Now, that being said, I'm pretty sure if Michael Vick was sitting here next to me and we were just chilling some boys, he probably like, I probably could learn something without going to prison. But
Right.
because money talks as well. Because I think he gave up, he was charged in the RICO. So I'm assuming all his assets, he filed for bankruptcy. This guy's broke.
Yep.
This guy's was signing multi-million-dollar contracts for
And
Atlanta.
all those endorsements.
Yeah. This guy was throwing footballs for Gatorade commercials in the middle. You remember the Nike commercials? He's hitting people and
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, this guy was. It's Michael Vick. He has a special out right now. I can't. I think it's called. It's essentially about black quarterbacks. It's really good. I think it's on Amazon Prime. And he's basically, I guess the kind of like the lead person of the show. I wouldn't say he's basically going and meeting different black quarterbacks that have led us through where we're at now, right? You look at the NFL now, Michael Vick is probably the number one sponsor of where we're at with in terms where African American quarterbacks wasn't considered smart enough to play quarterback.
Right.
And to see Warren Moon, Darren, McNabb, and then to see like Michael Vick, basically, he was totally different than all of those guys.
Right.
I mean, it was a game changer. And so now
Doug Williams.
Yeah, you see this guy. It's a great show. I really recommend you should watch it. But yeah, Michael Vick. I think it was this summer it came out. It was good. Just hearing him talk and hearing him talk to the quarterbacks and just seeing him play this role that's a little bit different, but no, he had a significant role in what the involvement of the quarterback looked like in the NFL. So
that's dope.
So hopefully he starts winning.
That's the key, right? That's the key.
But
yeah. I mean, it does make a big difference if you can win football games, or whatever sport you coach. Yeah, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
So what's the reason? I'm curious though, Justin. What is the reception since you're right there at Norfolk State? Right, you're right in there in the area. What's been the reception there? What has the atmosphere been like surrounding Vic?
So it's one of excitement, anticipation. It's one of belief. Of course, like you said, there's that outside noise of, oh, we can't believe you would do something like this. But as far as the majority of the community and of the Hampton Roads area, like it's excitement. We're looking like, October 4th, we play, Norfolk State plays a team from across the water.
HU.
It's going to be it's gonna be like must see TV for that, right?
Yeah.
And then you have him coaching against the school his wife went to.
That's right.
That's
right.
Like it's a lot that's going to play into that, and I just think the community is excited about it. But I think a lot of it too has to do with where Norfolk State football was and is currently, right? And people believe this is a change in the right direction to get the football program on the same standard as the men's and women's basketball team, who are, like they running things right now, right?
Yeah.
The men have lost in the MEAC championship last couple of years, won it a couple of years ago. The women have won it the last 2 years. The women right now ranked number 9 in the mid-major top 25. Beat Auburn a couple days ago.
It's big.
So right. So I think it's one that's it's elevating the whole I think not only Norfolk State athletics, but it's going to elevate the 757 high school athletics to another level as well from just because now more people are going to be in the area. And so you're going to hear about these kids.
You know what's funny about that? Now, I'll this is where when I first heard the news about Vic possibly going to Norfolk State, I remember they had a conversation on the local radio sports talk radio station here. They're like, "Where is Vic?" Because they're ignorant of the area. They're like, "Where's Vic going to get his recruits?
Man,
Like,
there's
how's he going to recruit? Like, do you not know
Hampton Roads is loaded with
757?"
people.
Oh my gosh! I'm like, nah, man. Look, he's not going to have any problems at all recruiting in that area. There's already kids prior to Vic even
That's
coming to
where
NSU that are going there from the area. So
where they think Virginia Tech out their athletes from.
right,
They're not going from Florida.
right, yeah. That's a rarity, except for maybe Brandon Flowers.
Yeah, that's
I think he was from Florida. He went to Tech, but that's about it, right? I mean,
yeah. They're all from Hampton Roads and
that's
even
Richmond.
even Georgetown. They do a ton of
Yeah,
in the area as well. I don't think people. Yeah, we look at the sports in the Northeast. Hampton Roads have to be up there, but you also look at Maryland as well, right?
yeah.
The Prince George County as well. You see some of those for basketball stuff, and there's not a ton of Northeast places that kind of fill into that. And I say Northeast, I put Virginia really in the Northeast. I know they claim they're from it's the South. It's not from a slavery standpoint. You have an argument from a standpoint now.
The
As
Mason Dixon line.
yeah, if we look at, I look at Virginia now.
Right.
I look at Virginia more being DC area. Maybe you get down past Richmond, south of there. Maybe you can start arguing that that's more southern. But I think I kind of put Virginia into having claiming two areas. North, you kind of claim more the DC area. South, you can claim. You can claim like North Carolina, stuff like that, right? So,
Right.
but no, it's loaded. It's exciting. I'm curious to see where it goes, but I was excited about Jackson State and Deion Sanders. I was disappointed when he left. I was thinking he was going to make this transition of Jackson State into this FBS type, keep it rolling type thing. But money calls.
It does.
Facilities call. And
They do.
it plays a role. That might be another show for you. Talk about HBCU and funding facilities and how can we get our facilities up to a level that that kids want to go.
Hey, shout out to my guy Clee Ross. I hope you hear that, man.
Conversation.
That'd be a great conversation.
Second winningest coach in college football was what's his name in Alabama? Not Alabama A&M, but he was.
You talking about Grambling?
He was at
Robinson.
Eddie Robinson, yeah.
And you've never heard of him, and his facilities were, have football facilities. It is hard to continue to compete at that level. So I'm hoping wherever Norfolk State is building around him, that you have your alumni and people come and pour into it, stuff like that, because that's really what makes it easier to recruit. It's hard to recruit, and Deion talked about it several times at Jackson State. And issues happening, and he was just like, "What do you want me to do about it? It's hard."
Yeah,
I think financially, go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, Nova State is in a strategic place with this too, right? So founded in 1935, it's 2025. It's 90 years, right? This is 90-year celebration of Norfolk State's founding. And we know our people, and when I say our people, Black people, we tend to get.
Hey, I'm a grad too, by the way. I'm a grad, NSU grad, baby.
I'm not grad. I just
My
happened
bad,
to wear.
Justin, man. I just had to throw that in there real quick. You know what I'm saying? I'm
I
rubbing
just
it in.
happened to wear green today, so.
My bad. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Justin. I just had to throw
no,
that out.
yeah, but we give back more for specialized things, right? So, um, with it being 90 years, it's probably going to be an uptick in in the annual giving because it's a 90-year celebration thing. Um, and so I think it's a strategic time that with him coming in, um, this galvanizing around his hiring, coupled with this 90-year celebration, um, I think it's something that we can just, as as a community in the 757, um, get get on board with, get around, and some of that may become funding for new facilities, funding for um, other things that's needed, like you said, to compete with, even the kid who knows he's not going to FBS school, and so he'd rather go to maybe a Virginia State because they're a D2 powerhouse and compete regularly, or Virginia Union because they compete regularly, um, to go to the playoffs and things like that. You know, now it gives them an opportunity to say, hmm, maybe I should go to Norfolk State. And again, like I said, especially the 757. I mean, we got to be honest, probably two of the greatest high school football players to ever play football came out of the 757.
Yep.
Really, really, you could say three. Um,
Who's your third?
Michael Vick, you got Michael Vick, Ronald Curry, and Percy Harvin.
Well, Percy Harvin went to Florida, so you get cleaned up.
He graduated from
He's,
Lansdowne High School in
He
Virginia
did.
Beach.
yeah. Yeah, he's a
I
Virginia guy.
I do remember when Percy Harvin was at Florida. I was just like, imagine how good you have to be in Virginia for Florida to come up and be like, yeah, we want you.
Watch it, Josh Sweat starting DN for the Philadelphia Eagles out of Virginia Beach. Um,
We got one here in KC too.
yeah,
Derek Nottie.
um,
Oh yeah.
Derek Nottie from Virginia Beach too.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like that 757 area has not only just, heavy hitters now, but you think Terry Kirby from back in it, Bruce Smith,
Yeah.
the list goes on, and we could go from
Any sport
sports,
too.
yeah,
The
and
Upton
then not
brothers.
just sports, right?
Yeah.
And then you could go from sports to the entertainment world, um, or and so I think it's an uplift, like I said. So I said that to say it's an uplift for a community that's had this like underlying thing of excellence, and now it's just bringing more light to what's here.
I'm excited. I need my tickets now. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home to watch
Look,
the game, at least one next year. I gotta do it. I'm excited about Coach Mike Vick. I'm excited what he's going to bring to the university. I'm excited about just, as you said, the community at large. It's one of those things, right? So if I can go back to my roots a little bit, I left Virginia in 2017, and I came back to this area. I'm from this area, Kansas City area, and I came back during the Mahomes era. I guarantee you, VA is going to be rocking just like that same type of excitement. You know, when Mahomes did his thing, like I posted a couple days ago, like Mahomes' first game against Denver. Like you knew, even though he wasn't starting in the playoffs that year, you knew he was going to be something special, right? Like man, that dude, like he was throwing the backups. Albert Wilson got paid mega millions from Miami because of one game that Patrick Mahomes had with him as the receiver. I think he was like the fourth receiver on that team or something like that. Got paid because Mahomes made him look good. But that's the excitement he brought. I mean, Kansas City has been what, six straight AFC championship games since he's been a starter. I guarantee that same hype and that same love will happen from Mike Vick in the 757. So I'm excited about that.
If he wins, right? That
Well,
first
yeah,
year,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. True.
he'll get the first year of, you know, everybody is just excited that he's there. The
Right,
next year is going to take some winning, but I think that comes with him, right? Like, let's be real, he's won, right? I mean, he no, he didn't win a Super Bowl or anything like that, but he's never been to a place where he didn't change the trajectory of the team he was signed for, right?
right,
Atlanta picked him number one because they suck.
right. Yeah,
He came and that changed. He goes into Green Bay as the first team to beat Green Bay at home in the playoffs.
yeah. That was
Um,
crazy.
right. And he ran them into the ground, literally. He goes to Philly. Donovan McNabb gets hurt and he shows out, right? What was it, 2 years after he finished his sentence, got another $100 million contract?
Yeah. But he also became, if you notice, like he became a much more cerebral quarterback too, right?
Very much so.
And
Listen, trust
that's
me,
what's
I
going to make
know.
him a great coach too, right? I mean, learning from Andy Reid. I mean, I think he had time to think. Honestly, being incarcerated, um, playing chess, like he said, he learned to play chess in prison. So as you know, when you play chess, you got to think of the next move. You got to read the person. You got, yeah. He talked about reading defenses and all that. I mean, he just became a more cerebral person because he no longer just relied on his natural abilities, which he did in Atlanta. That's all he relied on was natural ability. And then he goes to Philly, and he's taking that natural ability along with what's up here, made him dangerous, absolutely dangerous.
Most,
And I think that he can be that as a coach too, like knowing those X's and O's and teaching those kids, look, you need to dig into this playbook, right? You need to stay out of trouble, right? You need to stop hanging around, certain people because they're just going to bring you down. He knows the game, all that type of game. And he could bring all that to the table. And that's what people don't realize. He brings all of that to the table, all of it. The athletic ability, the state of mind, the frame of mind, the X's and O's, the know what to do and not to do in society. Because as you know, Justin, Norfolk State, if you go there, it's easy to get caught up, right? I know, I'll tell you what, I applied there as an undergrad. And I'm glad I didn't go because I don't know if I would have graduated, man. Like, that's just the truth. I went there as a grad student, but yeah, I don't know. I probably would have got caught up, man. Yeah. So I mean,
I
you
mean,
have a guy
I
like
mean,
that, Mike Vick, who has a stable mind, a good frame of reference, knows what to say and how to say it. It's a great fit.
yeah, but I think that's what's really going to make him that great coach, right? Because he has the ability to speak to these young men from a perspective not a lot of other people will be able to speak to them from. Let's be real, a lot of these kids are probably coming from some situations that are similar to what he came out of.
Right.
Growing up, um, some of them probably, Norfolk State is the only reason they might not, you know. have been leading a life that would have taken them down a path to incarceration. So him being able to not only speak to them to that, but also notice patterns in guys and be like, "Hey, come here, young guy. Let me holler at you. Let me and catch these kids before it's too late."
Right.
Um, so yeah, excited, man, excited.
So any closing remarks? We're gonna get out of here, man. Uh, thanks for joining the show, guys. Off the grid relaunch. Definitely excited. But yeah, any closing remarks that you guys have?
For me, closing remark, kind of on topic, kind of not. I hope this continues this progression with black coaches. The Rooney Rule, stuff like that. You still look across the NFL, you look across the city football. We're still not represented at the levels of participation that's currently on the field. It'd be kind of great to see like just more coaches, African American coaches that that are coaching, you know, have the opportunity at the level of, opportunity. Some coaches get fired, get in trouble, get fired, get tried, and somehow they make their way right back up to the number one program in the country or a top 5 program in the country. And I'm like,
Right.
and this guy's been fired like 6 times, got in trouble for, some basketball coaches having prostitutes for his players. Everything else, and I'm like,
Yeah.
versus where? I'm like, I thought that person was done. I thought he was done, but somehow they make their way back. And to see not the same opportunity extended to black coaches just bothered me. I'm just like, you make one mistake, I have a 500, win season. They're like, oh, well, sorry, we have to let you go.
Right.
I just don't see it to that level, but hopefully we'll get there in basketball and football to see the levels of especially some of the, I would say, greatest players and defining players of our lifetime, Michael Vick being one of them, seeing them want to coach, and hopefully this leads more into that situation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
you
my
don't see
last
people
part.
like getting fired mid-season like Adrian Griffin, man. That was terrible.
Yeah.
Shout out to Adrian Griffin, man. He's from Kansas, Wichita guy.
I so I hope this is the beginning of this happening more and more, if that makes sense. So that's my
Yeah,
party remarks.
and so to couple that, right? I hope this is also an opportunity for the economics of college sports to help um, institutions who, from early stages in professional sports, help build those leagues to what they are, right? And not only that, but now to bring HBCUs to a space where the TV money, the endorsement money, all of those things start to even out and level out and allow HBCUs to really compete, like you said, because of that economic piece, with the facilities, with NIL money, with all of these different things, that I hope bring some balance to, and see the elevation of HBCUs both academically and athletically, um, to a level that we were, and still produce, just don't get the recognition.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, fellas. Thanks for dropping by, spending your evening with me, talking about. I think this was important, guys. So You know, I hope people that are out there understand, you know, the point of views that we're coming from. I hope that, you know, they can understand that Mike Vick needs a lot more grace than a lot of people are giving him.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more to this story that meets the eye. So thanks again, fellas. I appreciate you. Everybody, thanks for watching Off the Grid. We out of here. Peace.
Peace.